Thompson heaving one down the sideline, and he's got Kazmeir over the top. Big side, down the sideline. Touchdown. His signature move and his signature performance. Allen, big ball one more time. 58 yards this time.
You're listening to the Bruin Bible. This is your host, Will Decker, bringing you UCLA football content all throughout the year for LA Football Network.
What is up, Bruin Bible listeners? We have another advertisement for you. We are so lucky to be sponsored by the great people at Athletic Greens. I started taking Athletic Greens specifically because I was lacking energy, lacking focus throughout the day, and needed some special pick-me-up ingredients to make things happen in my life. Athletic Greens has done just that. I've become absolutely addicted to the process. It has over 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source ingredients, probiotics, adaptogens to make your life easier by doing this during the day. I like to take it to start my mornings off. I like to do it before a workout. Makes you feel energized, focused, and just have a lot more energy throughout the day than I typically expected. Right now it's the time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every single day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/LAFB. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/LAFB to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Athletic Greens, a game changer when it comes to your health and your focus and your mindset. Now to the Bruin Bible. What's up, Bruin Bible listeners? This is your host, Will Decker. Wanted to bring you the sponsors for today's episode, Bet Online, where the gambling starts. I've got a bunch of good bets going on right now. I've got the Lakers making the playoffs. We've got futures bets coming around for MLB baseball. March Madness is around the corner. NBA playoffs on the horizon too. Make sure to check out all of the gambling and all of your gambling needs at Bet Online, where the gambling starts. Make sure to use promo code LAFB to get a little discount. Everything is great on Bet Online. I use it weekly for all my gambling needs. Make sure to check it out. LAFB Gambling. And now to the Bruin Bible. What is up, Bruin Bible listeners? This is your host, Will Decker. We are trying to cook up some fun new ideas for the off season as we got a new episode for you. And I wanted to break down the areas that give me the most concern as a UCLA football fan going into 2023. You know, I'm the most optimistic Bruin fan we have in the space, or at least that's how I present myself. I feel like Chip does such a good job of adding through the transfer portal to strengthen a lot of these units. For instance, wide receiver room was already looking pretty good. And then you add a J. Michael Sturdivant and, a Kyle Ford to the unit. And that's a, top 3, top 4 unit in the wide receiving room when it comes to the Pac-12. You look at the tight end room, we're looking pretty strong there too. I mean, you had Hudson Habermill and Carlson Ryan, who showed some real flashes as a true freshman last year. And then you had the likes of a Moliki Matavao from Oregon. That's a top 3, top 4 unit. So Chip is really good at adding. There's a couple areas in the roster where, I'm not as, gung-ho about, if you will. There's a couple areas I'm a little concerned about. The area I want to start with on this, as we're trying to just give you guys the best content all year long through LA Football Network, is the offensive line. The offensive line, to me, there are some players there that, I feel very confidently can really make a jump and make some nice moves. But boy, it's thin, and it's lacking a lot of experience in some of the areas, and experience at a level like the Pac-12. Let's take it to who we're losing on the offensive line before I delve into the current roster. So the main guys that are leaving are John Gaines, Antonio Mafi, and Raekwon O'Neal, the left tackle from last year. Let's go to John Gaines. John Gaines, 29 career starts to his name. This was a guy that was one of the smartest players in the locker room. Antonio Mafi, I think we had him on. He was telling us John Gaines was the guy that got him up to speed as an offensive lineman when he made the switch from defensive to offensive, one of the more intelligent players on UCLA's roster, and a guy that wowed at the combine, this past week in Indy. Very, very solid guard. I think he ran like a 5.02 40 time for that size when he's pushing around 300 pounds. That's an impressive feat for John Gaines. And on top of that, which was even more impressive, this guy was the 8th rated guard in all of college football via PFF, in terms of the grading system that they bring out. So John Gaines is a guy that we're going to sorely miss, in the guard spot at the right side. Then you take it to the left guard. This guy was even better. Antonio Mafi. It took him a year to kind of get everything under his belt. This was really his first year starting as a left guard. And boy, I mean, we did not expect what we were going to go see from our guy, Antonio Mafi. We thought he was going to be a very solid starter. But this guy's going to be like a top 3 to top 4 round pick in the NFL draft. 6'4", 339 pounds. You heard about the weight loss it took to get there, and what a character, and how much character this guy has at that size. Such a friendly guy. Mafi, we talked about Gaines being the 7th or the 8th best ranked guard, within college football. Mafi was number 3 overall. So when you couple that with what Antonio Mafi was doing in the run game, and boy, I mean, if you throw on the tape and, just seeing some of these big name people, evaluating for the NFL draft at the next level, Antonio Mafi is the guy that they're circling going, this guy is just pancaking people, making moves out there, opening holes for this run game that, was the 6th best nationally within the entire country. And Mafi was a big part of that. So we're losing Gaines, we're losing Mafi. And then you add to the fact that Raekwon O'Neal, who I think was the most improved player on the offensive line as a whole from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. And we all saw it in the opening game against Bowling Green. Uncharacteristically hot day for Los Angeles. But, man, that offensive line looked brutal to begin the season. It was something that I think we were worried about in the press box. I know I had my chat going with the Madman and Ryan Dyrud via text going, boy, if this offensive line can't shape up, this is going to be a long season. Raekwon O'Neal went from the first 3 or 4 games of the season to the last 3 or 4 being a below-level starter within the Pac-12, in my opinion, to being one of the top 3 or 4 left tackles within the league. He was so outstanding for the rest of the season. And this is a guy that came from Rutgers. He had all Big Ten, honorable mention, the conference, in my opinion, that puts out maybe the second most talent compared to the SEC. They're very consistent in putting out talent, especially on the offensive line. So Raekwon O'Neal, the 6'4", 305-pound left tackle, no longer with us. So we don't have Gaines, we don't have Mafi, and we don't have Raekwon O'Neal. So who do we have coming in for the UCLA Bruins? One of the big returners, I think, is Duke Clemens. 6'3", 302-pound center coming back for his 5th year, solidifying the middle of the line. And you talk to these football experts and, people that are really ingrained in the game themselves. And the area that they like to talk about is left tackle. Protecting your quarterback's blind side might be, on paper, the most important position on the offensive line. But the center's kind of like the guy that just keeps everyone together. He's calling the plays. He's calling, the audibles with the quarterback, making sure everyone's in line. Getting a guy like Duke Clemens to come back, I think, is just so underrated for what UCLA is trying to do next year. And just, how many games this guy has under his belt. He's a guy that is just a veteran within the field. And you look at him, he started 13 games for us last year, 8 games the year prior, 3 games at right guard. And then he started 8 in 2019. So when you add that all up, that's around 30-plus games as a starter within the Pac-12. That experience is so valuable coming back. So Duke Clemens, that's a guy that I feel very confident about succeeding for UCLA next year. You couple that with the fact that we bring in, Spencer Holstege, one of the bigger transfers we got, in my opinion, just for the need of what he brings to the team and what we were losing with Mafi and Gaines. You need to replace those guards that, were making plays and allowing them to be one of the best rushing teams within the entire country. And Spencer Holstege is a special talent. Came from Purdue. He's got 31 career starts to his name. Love the experience. Love what he brings. 0 sacks allowed this year. This past year for the Purdue Boilermakers. He's only allowed 2 sacks in 3 years by a guard. He was the number 1 pass blocking guard in the Big Ten. I mentioned previously my points with Raekwon O'Neal. Spencer Holstege comes in, plugs some holes. If he could just play to that same level or close to it, that's a hell of a guard UCLA was able to get. He was number 6 in the nation by PFF in terms of pass blocking grade when it comes to guards. And he was the number 2 pass blocker in the Big Ten this year as well. 2-time All Big Ten, whether it was honorable mention or he made one of the lower teams. So this is a big get. So I feel confident with Clemens and Holstege. But after that, I feel a little less confident. There's this guy that we got that I'm very excited about the potential of this guy. His name is Kadir Kauna. And just to put you how big of a guy this is, Raekwon O'Neal was about 6'4", 305. Bruiser out on the left side, did a really good job at the left tackle. Kauna 6'6", 306 pounds. This guy has 25 plus starts to his name from Old Dominion. Graded out very well with Old Dominion, but the thing I think I'm worried about is the potential jump to a bigger conference. The level is going to be such a jump for him to kind of adapt to. I'm a little worried about what he can potentially bring to the table. And, I don't know where we're going to go with him down the line. I think there's a lot of room for him to be impressive, but there's also a lot of room for him to, take some steps back, to have some growing pains, if you will, for moving to the Sun Belt Conference to the Pac-12. Count up, very slim, 6'6", 306. I like the potential of Kauna, but can we trust in him to solidify the left side as well as Raekwon O'Neal can? I don't know if I'm there yet. I've got to see a couple games of it. These are all Bruins. These are all people, competing at the college football level, so we root for these guys. But I got to see a little bit of Kauna, to get that out of my head that that's not a position of, concern for UCLA. And, Holstege is going to play the left side. Kauna is going to be the left tackle. Duke Clemens is going to be the center. When it comes to the right side of the offense, this is a little bit more concerning. When you look at the likes of, Siali Taupaki, and excuse me if I, mispronounce the name, he's a redshirt senior coming back in his 5th year. This guy's only played in 2 games as a reserve. He, on paper right now, is the starting right guard, according to ourlads.com. So can I trust in Taupaki? I don't know if I'm there yet either. I don't know if I will be there until I see some proof of it as well. So putting the trust in that's going to be a tough one, to watch play out. We're going to have to see some results for me to feel very confident about Taupaki coming in there. And then Garrett DiGiorgio, I do feel maybe a little bit better because he did have 13 starts at right tackle last year. He was solid, though. Like, he wasn't, above it. He was average, at right tackle. I'd like to see him take a jump this year. Maybe that does come with, 13 plus starts under his belt coming into a new year. But, after these guys, and these are just the starters, it gets very, very thin on the right side when you look at the depth chart. Jalen Jeffers is a guy that I think has a lot of potential. He was a tackle that transferred down from Oregon. This guy had great offers, LSU, Michigan, Oregon. Went to Oregon for a year, didn't play much, transferred down to UCLA. This guy's only appeared in 2 games in, 2 or 3 years now in college football. So Jeffers, we haven't seen that. Josh Carlin's a guy that's been here for a long time. He's going to be entering his 5th year within the program. He hasn't played a lot either. He's coming in as a reserve for a lot of these games, but in terms of a starting unit, how is he going to be handling, the defensive line of Oregon or USC or some of these big Utah, some of these schools? How is he going to be handling that on the right side of the line? Caleb Walker, unproven. He came from the College of Sequoias. Tavake Tuikolovatu. This guy's, a true freshman coming in. These are guys that Sam Yoon, right tackle. He's a true freshman. So line, I just need a little bit more consistency. It's an area of worry, especially if injuries get to us as the game of football goes along. I like these guys. I think they can be a very solid unit. I think Tim Drevno is actually one of the best offensive line coaches within the entire country. I mean, we saw what he was able to put together last year with UCLA. I think he's a huge reason why Antonio Mafi is a big-time prospect. I think he's a huge reason why John Gaines is going to be a late, day 3 draft pick, and Raekwon O'Neal is going to make an NFL team. But man, he's got his work cut out for him this year, and that for me is the area of most concern is the offensive line. I got to be honest. I was looking at some of the other areas. I really thought beforehand, the linebacking room, just looking at it from the surface. But, because you look at the starters, it was John Vons, Muasau, Oladejo. I was thinking more so putting this in there as like, the backups, who are they going to be? But I didn't realize Carl Jones Jr., Ali Kehau, Kane Madrano are coming back. And with the addition of Oladejo to Muasau and John Vons, that's going to be actually one of the most loaded units in the entire conference. That doesn't even count if you include Latu as an outside linebacker. I look at him as more of as a pass rusher. He's listed here as an outside linebacker. So that, just from just evaluating that's going to be one of the more loaded units within the entire country. I know you guys know about the running back room. I'm feeling very confident about what they're bringing to the table. TJ Harden, Keegan Jones, Carson Steele, very solid players. And I think the other area I'm going to go with, because I do think we have the talent top end to be very good, I'm Mr. Secondary. Jamal Madney has nicknamed me secondary to none. It's a famous thing that goes on within the LA Football Network community. I think we have a lot of talent. You look at Jalen Davies, high 4-star guy. Devin Kirkwood, high 4-star guy. Davies was probably one of the better Pac-12 corners in the entire country over the last, 5 to 6 games for UCLA last year. Jordan Anderson transferring from Bowling Green with a lot of starts at a Division I level. I think that's, going to be a little bit of a jump, but I think he's a very talented player, so I'm excited for that. And then Kamari Ramsey, a lot of potential there. We've talked about him being a high-level recruit. However, after those guys, it gets a little thin. After the Davies and Kirkwood, you got your Isaiah Newcombs, unproven corner. Croy Stewart, redshirt freshman, unproven. RJ Jones, as much as I like him as a 4-star guy, he's got to get on campus. He's got to play. I don't know how that's going to fare out. William Nimmo Jr., redshirt senior. We haven't really seen him, outside of special teams here. So I think from that standpoint, Ethan O'Connor, true freshman. There's just a lot of guys that I'm not sold on when it comes to the secondary units. If we were to get some injuries, I think the starting 4, if you're just throwing out 4 corners, 2 corners and 2 safeties, Jalen Davies, Devin Kirkwood, Kamari Ramsey, and Jordan Anderson, I think that has the potential to be very good, especially with the new coaching staff in place there, with the additions of a DeAnton Lynn and a Cody Whitefield. So I think those guys are going to be very good. I just don't know, like I said with the offensive line, if there were to be some injuries, nobody wishes that in the world, but if there were to be some injuries, I feel a little bit more nervous when it comes to those backups that are going to be replacing these guys. I think another area for concern, the interior defensive line. We got a huge boost on that with Keanu Williams transferring down. He's a former 4-star coming in from Oregon. Jay Toya is actually my breakout player for UCLA this year. I think he's going to be a monster. I think he's going to play on Sundays. And then Gary Smith, very serviceable defensive tackles. So you got to get a nice little rotation of those 3. But after that, it looks a little, thin. Your David Magna, not a lot of playing time. Devin Alpio, he was a junior, hasn't really played a lot. Thin, but the Keanu Williams edition pushes it a little further. So I think those are the areas of concern for me as a UCLA fan as we move into, the next season. Apologies. I wish we had a guest for tonight. Things didn't go our way, but we are still pushing to get some really good guests on the Bruin Bible. So make sure you guys are tuning in for that. Tell me if I missed an area on the roster that you guys are a little bit more concerned about. I think offensive line and the depth behind it, as well as the cornerback and secondary room, the depth behind it, are the 2 areas I think of most concern. I do think the secondary is going to be great if they're healthy. I think the offensive line will be good enough if they're healthy. But that's the thing. This is football, man. Football is a game where you are constantly dealing with injuries in all parts of the roster. Bruin Bible, we are officially out. Love you guys, man. Like and subscribe to the UCLA LAFB channel and the Bruin Bible itself. Look forward to talking with you guys soon, man. Go Bruins. We are out.